Welcome back, Outdoor Zulu. I'm here September 8th, 3 p.m. And Benjamin, Andy, and I are attempting to do the Timberline Trail around Mount Hood and adding to the dozens of other videos about Timberline Trail on YouTube. Follow our adventures today and the next few days. It's already started off fairly exciting. There's a red flag warning for high winds for the next 2 or 3 days, and we weighed the risk and versus outcome, and we've decided that we're going to continue on, but with a keen awareness of safety and where we're going to camp to avoid blowdown and high winds and things. So hopefully I make it back and be able to post this video. Stay tuned. So we heard this rumbling. We're not very far, and it sounded like thunder, but it turned out it was a landslide. You can kind of see some dust in the background. Yeah, what did Benjamin get us into? This ought to be fun. Alright, we're at our first kind of little canyon. That mountain, this camera doesn't do it justice. That mountain is a lot closer than what it is. It looks awesome. But now we gotta go down this dry bed, kind of up our first little hill up there. It's one of probably the first meadows we're gonna be able to see. Just gorgeous. Yeah, not so much that. Okay, we made it to Zigzag Canyon. We're at the very top. You see a beautiful Mount Hood watching over us. And yeah, I'll give you a look to see what we can show you down. Alright, there she is. And I believe that to be Zigzag Canyon, hopefully. And Paradise Park, I think, is that green patch right over there, and that's where we're going to be camping somewhere tonight. We have to get down this canyon and back up. These guys are going to make sure I do that. All right, we're at Zigzag. It's going to be our first river crossing. Doesn't look too bad at all. I think this is one of the easier ones though. We watched one person cross over. They didn't pick a very good spot. I'm looking a little more upstream right over there. I think I'll be just fine. I'm sure someone will try to film me going across. Coming out of Zigzag Canyon, not far from Paradise Park, excuse me. But it was quite a trek up here. but we're all in good spirits. Looking forward to dinner and an air mattress. Ooh, it's kind of buggy here though. Ugh. Coming up on our second little river crossing, we're on the Paradise Park Loop. Getting close to our first site for camp. It's gorgeous up here. Little buggy though. Little buggy. Okay, we made it to our first campsite. As mentioned, Paradise Park Loop. We just crossed a little creek and took the first camp we saw. We're running out of daylight, so yeah, we've got a nice little spot. I don't know if you can see much with how dark it is. Here's my tent. So far, I love my Raya Bryce one-person tent. Okay, both Andy and Benjamin have the same exact tent, but Andy's nestled into some trees, and Benjamin's right next to him. We're gonna be hopefully having our dinner soon. We've got some kind of trees to protect us a little bit. Yeah, this is a great spot. Plus, we're all really tired. Oh, here's a tour of what I brought. I've got nope, too dark. Maybe tomorrow. Good morning. We're here at Paradise Park, making a little bit of coffee this morning. Benjamin is sharing some instant that he really likes. And then I'm going to be making some breakfast. And I'll show you that in just a minute. Now I know some backpackers don't like the jet foil because it's a little bit heavy. I don't mind. This thing is awesome. I love it. Smells good. It's one of my heavier meals, so luckily I'm getting rid of it on the first day. Yeah, lopsided egg. All right, we got some sausage and eggs, and I've got some rolls and some dried apples and banana chips. Nutritious breakfast for day 2. Here's this morning, a little bit more light to show you. So a little bit of our camp. And we're about ready to hit the road in a little while. We've been on the trail just for a little bit. We're still on the Paradise Park Loop. We just kind of came around the corner and saw that. Oh man, the camera doesn't do it justice. The sun gleaming on it. I know we're going to be looking at it all week long, but that just looks amazing. Worth stopping and taking a couple of pictures. Stopping for a break, and we came up across this canyon. Beautiful. Coming up to a creek here. We had a little break a little while ago. Feeling a little bit refreshed, but we'll load up on water. But the problem is, what goes down must come back up. So I'm expecting a little bit of a climb coming out of this canyon right after this next river crossing. Stay tuned. We're at the Sandy River that we're going to do our next major river crossing. We've kind of spotted out a couple of different places and that we're going to cross. It doesn't look bad at all compared to some of the other videos that we've seen. Looks like there's a couple of logs here and there. We can easily jump some of those. So everybody picked their own spot. I'm going to take that one. Hey, there's a couple of places, but this 2 log might look the best. Yep, nice and slow. This is really only for insurance purposes and to make sure that we kept Benjamin safe for Catherine. There we go. Easy. We made it to Ramona Falls. This is where we're breaking for lunch. Those of you who work with me and on Microsoft Teams, oftentimes you see the background of these waterfalls. There's so many words to describe this, but the first one comes, it's majestic. It's pretty inspiring. I also have a little story about this. I've been to these falls 2 or 3 times when I was a kid. First time though, my dad wanted to take us out to a hike, family hike, and got us early in the morning, arrived at the parking lot. We started trudging through probably like 4 miles, and we opened up to a parking lot, and we thought, my dad's like, what's going on here? It turns out we parked in the overflow parking lot, and we had just opened into the actual trailhead parking lot. So we had another 4 miles to go, maybe. I think I've been here once since then with some family friends. I remember a picture being taken on that bridge there. But It sure feels nice. It is so cool under here. My legs feel a little like jelly, and now I'm gonna have some nice lunch and relax here for a little while before we start trudging up to Bald Mountain. It's gonna be we have Muddy Fork Crossing and then Bald Mountain, and then all the way up to McNeil Point if we make it that far tonight. So enjoy the scenery. I sure am. Hikers right here to have some lunch and rest and recuperate. So this is my first non-fresh meal, and I'm having my very first freeze-dried meal from Peak Refuel. I'm having chicken teriyaki rice. Just warmed it up, and actually smells pretty good. I think I'm gonna enjoy that. Not as nice as some of my fresh meals, but oh well. Hey Outdoor Zulus. So, we plan and we plan and we plan. We come up with contingency plans and we need to be flexible. We had one of our people on our crew here was not feeling up to the challenge for the rest of the hike. So at Ramona Falls, we came up with a couple of options on how we're going to extract ourselves. We came up with ideas of backtracking the way we came, which would have included a lot of inclines that would have slowed us down a bit. We came up with a couple of other ways, but we ended up deciding to go off trail, and we headed towards the Ramona Falls trailhead, which was 3.5 miles, mostly downhill. And we crossed the Sandy River again, and we landed at the trailhead parking lot. We then asked around a few people if they would take us to Timberline Lodge, and luckily Laura, a retired naval intelligence officer, was actually heading that direction, and she gave me a ride to my truck at the lodge, and then I came back for the rest of our group, and then we went out to dinner after that. So it wasn't the story that we were planning on telling, but the story changed. So now that's why you see me in my garage, kind of wrapping up this video. I would be outside, but the forest fires in Oregon are making it pretty smoky and not too fun to hang out there. So I'm here in my garage, and I thought I'd at least go through some of the gear that I brought, and just for some comparison's sake. And I hope you enjoy that. Feel free to comment. Everybody's gear is different. I've watched tons and tons of backpacking videos about different gear. I love following Dan Becker. He's a great channel to watch. I just recently started watching Miranda in the Wild on the REI channel. Some shout outs. I'm definitely going to shout out a lot to Chef Corso, who is now used to be Monte Boca, and now it is Outdoor Eats. You should go check out his channel for some great ideas. And so I thought I'd just kind of wrap it up with there. So I'm going to break this up into different segments, and so you can kind of follow along on some of the stuff that I brought on my pack. We're going to talk about food and water. What did I bring? Well, we were planning for about 5 days, and we were planning basically 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches, and 4 dinners. And then we were going to hopefully land at the Timberline Lodge on the last day and have breakfast there. But, so this is what I brought. I wanted to bring kind of a combination of different meals. I wanted to bring lots of fresh ingredient meals, but that takes some weight. And so I took a lot of inspiration from Chef Corso and some of his meals. I won't go through all of them, but I was planning on those for mostly my dinners. I brought a selection of your freeze-dried meals. I've never had them before, and I thought that was pretty proud of that, but I wanted to bring them for lunches so I could be quick to eat my lunch and get back on the trail. I was only able to have one. I did a peak refuel chicken teriyaki rice. Yeah, actually, it was quite delicious. I was impressed. But I had a sort of other ones, and then I had everything all in a nice Sea to Summit 20-liter bag that I wrapped everything in. All my fresh meals were self-contained in their own bags, and so this one was for chicken, cashew chicken, I think was going to be one of my nights. And then to reduce my smells going out and wrap that up, and then I could quickly pull all of my food out of my pack when I stopped for lunch and for dinners and things like that. So then and then I had a mess kit. It's an assortment of Sea to Summit collapsible bowls. I have the classic long spork for freeze-dried meals. And I have a nice little triangular cutting board that I pulled out of my kids' fireside mess kit, those triangular ones, which are great ones. And then I also had a jet boil aluminum frying pan, which I use this for 2 meals. One to toast some bread for my salmon toast, and then also I brought some fresh eggs and sausage that I froze the night before and brought out to me, and so then breakfast it was all ready to go. And I had that with some Hawaiian sweet rolls, a little bit of dried fruit, and it was fantastic. And luckily those were one of my 2 heaviest meals, so on the first full day, my pack was a lot lighter. For the rest, I was planning on cooking my stews. I boiled my water for my freeze-dried meals in my Jetboil Mini-Mo. And I love this thing. It's great. It is a little bit heavy, but it's all self-contained. It does everything I want it to do. And of course, I only brought one full canister. I've got lots of partials, but I brought one full canister to bring with me on the trip. And my splurge, I guess, I brought a little measuring cup, which I know other things can do that, but I like this one. I had a plastic coffee mug. I know my other collapsible one could have done the same thing, but this was kind of my one splurge item. And I have a little bit of a cleaning kit in here, just some soap and a little sponge I cut up so I could clean all my dishes. Now for drinks, I brought some like Crystal Light little lemonade as kind of a little change up from mostly water, but I did drink mostly water. I brought 2 Nalgene bottles with me, and they were full. I know some backpackers like to use smart water bottles and things, but I just like to have a good amount of water. Hopefully try to drink a lot of it. And then for a handful of times, as you saw me, I filtered it with my Sawyer, which this is a lot better than a pump that I used to use. This is incredibly light and easy to use. And I just kept it on the outside of my pack so I could quickly grab it. And yeah, that is it for my food and water. For my smaller personal items, I had a little ditty bag full of extra batteries, USB cord in case, because I wanted to recharge my phone, because that's what I was recording on. I'm pretty low budget here. And I also brought a battery pack, which is a little heavy, but I needed it just in case. Some other small little things I had. I brought Advil. I'm an older guy. I needed it a little bit to keep me from getting too sore. And then I had, of course, some hand sanitizer. So after many uses, I had that. Also, I started bringing some Vaseline chapstick for my lips. At that high elevation, I was glad I had this ready in my pocket. My lips were getting chapped a bit. And then I had in Scouts, it's 10 Essentials. In here, it's like my little mini fire starting kit, first aid kit, sunscreen, things like that. I kept it quickly in a small bag or a small pocket on my pack so I could grab it. Then I had some paracord. I didn't know if I was going to be hanging my food bag for bears or critters and things. Turned out it really wasn't a big issue. We didn't even see a single squirrel out there. But I wanted to be able to string between two trees and throw one over, so brought some paracord. And then I had some carabiners and things in case I was hanging other people's food bags and things like that. I had a bug net, and that first section of the trail all the way up to Paradise Park, use this. We were trying to keep moving, or I would have stopped and grabbed this. But this is just a cheap one from Fred Meyer or Kroger if you're watching this. A couple of bucks, and I would have enjoyed it if it got. Apparently, we got past the bug layer, and so where we made camp, I didn't need this at all. I brought a little extra. I brought some cash with me. I had my wallet, but we had to. If we were going to make it to Cloud Cap campground, it was $13 a night for a little campsite. And so I wanted to be able to have exact amount of money to put in the little box for that. And then I also brought a small towel. And this was in case I needed it, go Blazers, in case I needed it for the river crossings. I brought some river shoes that I used to call aqua socks. Some cheap ones I strapped on my back in case the river was really deep and I didn't want to get my boots wet. And I changed into those, and I could go over, dry my feet, put my boots back on, and off I went. And I ended up not using this because the rivers were pretty low, at least the couple that we crossed. But it was nice to know that I had it. And then also, sad story about these. Those trekking poles you saw me earlier. Yeah, just realized I left those at the Ramona Falls trailhead. If you go to that and you see those, you're welcome to have them. Or if you find them and reach out to me, I'd love to have them back. They're not too expensive ones, but I did borrow them from my dad. So, and then I also had easy, quick grab and go little poop kit. So I was all set for that. Also for lights from Personal, I had in my pocket always, even during the day, I had my headlamp. This is really just a cheap Energizer one. I'm not too huge into some of the other big huge brands, the rechargeable ones. This kit carries a couple of AAAs, and I had those extras in there, and this does just fine for me. It puts out a lot of lumens. And then I have a rechargeable solar lantern here that I absolutely love. It weighs almost nothing. And I will charge it up on my pack during the day, and it doesn't do well in cold weather. I've done some snow camping, and this lasts about 5 minutes. But in the other three seasons, it works just fine. So, and I encourage these so you don't have any of those batteries to use. So, and that's it for my personal items. Now we're going to talk about things that I actually wore. So, in Scouts, we're prepared for all kinds of weather, and I know there wasn't going to rain at all, but I still brought rain gear. I have just a Eddie Bauer shell. It's fairly lightweight, but it doesn't breathe well. But I knew I just in case it started raining, you never know. And then I have some rain pants. Rain pants might have been overkill, but I thought at least for wind. If I was up on top of those ridges and it got really windy, this would at least help break that. So that was my thinking of bringing those. I've got some Eddie Bauer trekking pants. They're in the wash now. And those were going to be the primary pants I was wearing, but I also have the pant sleeves, if you will. These were ready to go somewhere in my pack that I could easily grab. So I did put them on my first night just because it was starting to get a little chilly and buggy. But I love convertible pants. I bought this at Costco like 2 days before. It's just a polyester, really lightweight. I wouldn't even call it a sweatshirt, but this was absolutely perfect. For when we stopped at camp, I put this on to kind of keep some warmth because it is easier to stay warm than to get warm. And then in the morning, I actually slept in this. And then in the morning, I kept it on until about 10 a.m. to hike. It's moisture wicking, and so it kept me dry. But it was nice because it was a little chilly when we woke up, and it was just the perfect weight. I really like that. Then I had for socks, I've only brought darn socks, the hiking ones. These are kind of the not crew level, but the kind of ankle level, and they're lightweight. I only wore one pair for like a day and a half. I absolutely love these. These are fantastic. And I went to the REI sale and got a bunch of those. And so I recommend these in all kinds of different weights. They were actually quite comfortable and did everything I wanted them to do. And also I have, for warmth in the evening, I have kind of a lightweight puffy jacket, Eddie Bauer, and it was like 650 mil. It was nice. It's probably a little bit heavier than some of those high-end ones that I've seen, but it did the job, and I actually slept in that too, just in case. Wasn't quite sure how cold I was going to be. And then I'm out, actually, I hate being cold. I also have some like lightweight all-weather gloves that in case it got really windy or really cold, I could wear these, but not even, it probably was overkill. I probably didn't need them. But I did want something for my head, and I have an alpaca wool, I call it a toque because I love the Canadians where they like to call those names, but I slept in this, and I made my breakfast in this, and I kept my head nice and warm. So then I had enough clothes in a dry bag for, I think I had like 2 changes of clothes. I knew I wasn't going to have fresh clothes every day, but you know, a fresh pair of socks, a t-shirt, new t-shirt every other day, some fresh underwear every other couple days was nice to have. For my shoes, I really couldn't figure out what I was going to wear. A lot of people saying for river crossings, you want something that's not waterproof, that has lots of vents, so you get your feet wet and it dries as you're hiking. I didn't want to go out and buy something new, so I do have some Keens, the low tops, and they are waterproof. These worked perfectly. Cushion, my feet didn't get that wet, so I wasn't too worried about it. Just a little bit of splashing, a couple mud puddles here and there. But these were great. I recommend, if you haven't looked at Keens, that's Keen, please take a look. They're actually made here in Portland, and they're great. I also have a pair of higher top ones for like my winter camping. So that is it for my gear that I wore on. Oh, yeah, that's it. Now, for the bigger gear that I carried, first of all, I carried everything in a Teton Sports Outfitter 4600, which it's actually my son's bag. I was packing mine. I have a Teton Sports Explorer 4600, something like that. And it has a big rip in it on one of the seams, and it's been there for a while. It keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's a little bit smaller than this. And so I asked him at the last minute. He said yes, I could borrow it. And this pack is okay. I know it's definitely not high end, and it had the capacity to hold everything that I wanted. But the load lifters are really low, and so it never really got up off of my shoulder, but it did carry everything I wanted. But I think I would have been a lot more comfortable with something with higher load lifters. So hopefully I'm going to look for something like that for Christmas. Then for my tent, I actually have, this is something I was really excited about. And you probably saw if you watched the beginning of it. It's my Pariah Bryce one-person tent right here. This tent, if you can find it, I hear they fly off the shelves. This is an extremely economical version of some of those, like the REI, 3/4, 1/4 dome, etc. But this is perfect. It fit me just nicely. It's not too small inside. My pack had to go into the vestibule. But, and I was prepared for higher winds with this. I definitely would have you check this out if you're looking for a lightweight. This is just 2 pounds, and my other tent that I was bringing was like 4, so I knocked 2 off of that. So that's really nice. Please check that out. Great tent. Then inside I had a Nemo tensor insulated pad. This thing is, I slept one night on it and it is fantastic. I'm a side sleeper, so this is a 3-inch pad. It weighs actually less than my other pad, which I don't understand how that's even possible. And it is like 4, I think the R value is like 4 something, and I'm like, cool, no, I'm gonna use this all the time. So I would definitely check this out. It's quite popular. You'll find them everywhere. I did bring, I wasn't quite sure about how cold it was going to get up on the mountain. It was going to dip into the weather kept changing. And so I saw earlier, it was even going to get down into the 30s at night. That ultimately changed, but I decided, you know, if it can change one way, it can change back when I'm up there. So I brought a Sea to Summit reactor liner. It says it can go up, add 25 degrees to your sleeping bag. I'm not so sure about that. I'd say more like 15 or so, but it's fleece liner. I ended up using it that first night because I wasn't quite sure how cold. It was probably too much. I probably didn't need it that first night, but it weighs probably a pound maybe, but it's nice to have. My sleeping bag, I put in a dry bag to make sure everything went well. And it is a Nemo Disco 30-degree long bag. And it is incredibly lightweight. I'm not going to empty it out right now, but it's got some really cool zippers to release some heat out if you get too hot. It was very comfortable. I'm really starting to really like some of the Nemo products. So I checked that out. And as I mentioned, everything was in a dry bag in case I fell over and my pack got soaked or whatever. And one of the last thing that came out is I just have an inflatable bag. Now this one's from Instant Camp. Not expensive at all. I have another Sea to Summit bag pillow, but this one actually fits nicely in the sleeping bag. There's a sleeve inside my sleeping bag for a pillow that fits just perfectly like this. And I already had one like this, and so it worked out really, really well. So that is all of the gear that I brought, and it may have been a little overkill on some areas, but I wanted to ensure that I was at least comfortable. The old adage is that whatever you're carrying on your back is for comfort while you are not walking. I am obviously not an ultra light backpacker. I am more of a comfort casual backpacker, and so I'm glad any little extra pound or two I'm happy to carry to make sure I'm comfortable and enjoying myself, because that's the whole point of me going out there. Okay, now I've also got some other pieces of gear that some I brought and some I didn't. So I did bring a compass with me always, so you know where you're going, which direction. I had a Green Trails map of the Mount Hood Wilderness area, and it had a zoom in of the actual Timberline Trail and some of the spoke trails on here. And I've used this for the last few months to help plan out. And the reason why I plan out is because I wanted to create a detailed hike plan. Now I teach in my scouts to put a hike plan together so everybody knows where they're expected to be, and then you can share that hike plan out with your loved ones that aren't going on the trip in case something bad happens or you need to cut your trip short. And I'm so glad that we worked that out. So what I had is, I know you can't see this right here, but what I had, some important information. First, we had some contact information. So all of our hikers, we had our email addresses and our telephone numbers so we can text each other. We also had all of our wives had their phone numbers and their email addresses. And so we created an email chain, because I emailed this document out to everyone. And then right before I left, I created a text chain. So that way, if one of us had signal, we can text people and say, we're okay, things like that. Or if should something horribly go wrong, our wives already had their contact information so they could text in, coordinate some kind of response. That's probably the most important part for this hike plan. I also had phone numbers for the Mount Hood National Forest headquarters and their website, and then we also had phone numbers for the Hood River Ranger District and the Zigzag Ranger District. So in case they had to do search and rescue or report that we're missing, they had the information ready to go. Then I had a list out of all of our dates and destinations, where we were expected to camp on what night. For example, first night, I said, we're leaving town at this such time. We're expected to arrive at Timberline Lodge at this time. We're going to be hiking 5 miles to Paradise Park, and we're camping there. Then the next night, we're going to be hiking 13 miles to McNeil Point, Muddy Fork, things like that. So if something should horribly go wrong, they should know exactly what section of the trail that we'll be at and where we're expected to be camping that night. And so we really were holding those as goals so everybody could find us. Lastly, then we had some transportation, just so everybody knew that I was going to be driving and picking everybody up and driving out to Timberline Lodge. So they knew exactly what vehicle to look for, things like that. And then the last section were our bailout extraction points. Not sure, I wanted to be able to figure out exactly where we could be if we needed to go off trail ahead of time. And so I set up a series of 4 different extraction points: one Lost Creek Campground, Kinnikinnick Campground, Cloud Cap Inn and Campground, etc. And those were kind of spoked off of our circular trail that we're going on. And I also put Google Map links on there, so our wives could click on that link and it would immediately pull up where it was in relation to the Timberline Trail and where they were, and they can get directions, things like that. And so glad I did. Our first extraction point was Lost Creek Campground, which was right at the trailhead for Ramona Falls. So we could have stayed at Lost Creek Campground for a couple of days at least, waiting for either one of our wives to come pick us up or to get a ride from a ranger up to the Timberline Lodge, etc. So I'm really glad that we had this in place, and I'm really glad that I'm able to share this example with you to make sure you do something like this. And all my scouts who may be watching this, hey, look, I'm doing exactly some of the things that I'm teaching you, and here's the reason why I'm so glad we did this. So, thanks for joining me on this little bit shorter trip. I wish I had some more footage for you. It was beautiful. If you're in the area, you should come and do a Timberline Trail. My next adventure, I think maybe next weekend, our troop is doing a wilderness survival camp out, and maybe going up to Mount Hood near area, and doing some intro to backpacking for some younger scouts, and then older scouts maybe doing some wilderness survival. So hopefully I've got a video that I can share with that, and you can enjoy. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.